But it's not that unusual just to cocaine. When you have marijuana and alcohol, the effects become significantly worse as well.
Okay.
It's worse than taking either compound individually.
Which is crazy because, like you've just said, once you're intoxicated with alcohol, your inhibitions are so low that you then... And it's what you've heard before about this idea of a gateway drug, isn't it?
Sure.
And alcohol is the gateway drug.
Alcohol is
it's
the gateway
drug to other drugs. It's the gateway drug to violence.
Yeah.
Absolutely to violence. It's the gateway drug to... In the past, when I'm not a nice person sometimes after I've had a few drinks.
Sure.
I can be very aggressive, very short-tempered, very illogical, and also very open to trying different things. And that, you know, that's I'm sure that's the same for everybody. So what other drugs have this sort of amplification after being intoxicated?
I mean, this one's a little bit different, but a very obvious example is benzodiazepines, lorazepam, midazolam. What, you're going to be better on the street names of these because you're...
Fuck those.
Is it Annex?
Adderall? No, that's a stimulant, isn't it? I don't know.
Adderall. I think it's Xanax.
Xanax, I've heard of that.
Xanax. I think it's a benzo. I can't remember which one.
Which are what, painkillers?
They're not painkillers. I mean, they're principally used as anti-anxiety medications, but they have very similar mechanisms in certain regards to alcohol. So when you take these together, well, it's like plowing down the same highway, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between like an apple and an orange, you know, the effects that you're going to observe, a lot of them are going to overlap, if that makes sense. And when people take these medications together, certainly it's far stronger because although you are taking a different compound, they do come from a similar class, so it can be considered taking more and more.
Are they opioids?
Opioids is another one. They're not opioids. So opioids is a class in itself, but it's a very good example because it's another one with heavy overlap.
Yeah.
They slow your respiratory rate. They cause inhibition.
What are your thoughts on fentanyl? Because I'm hearing a lot of this is now starting to cross the pond from America. So what the fuck is fentanyl?
Okay, in terms of crossing the pond, I think it's inevitable because fentanyl is another opioid in difference to heroin, tramadol, codeine.
Yeah.
More of the effects are felt in the brain. So, for instance, fentanyl is an extremely powerful painkiller, but it will give you more of a buzz than morphine.
Right.
So does that make sense? The recreational effect.
So it has almost a psychoactive ingredient to it as well.
The recreational effects of fentanyl are relatively stronger than most other opioids.
Yeah.
Which means that...
Stronger than heroin?
In terms of its unit compound, I would have thought so. Certainly stronger than morphine.
Wow. And the other thing that's so dangerous with it, and again, I'm not a doctor, I don't know, but the amount to get you high compared to the amount that will kill you is so tiny that you're seeing people dying because they've overdosed. And it's just, you know, it's not the difference like if I do a gram of cocaine and then I do 10 grams of cocaine. It's like 0.1 will get me buzzing, 0.15 will kill me, which is scary.
And can you imagine how much those therapeutic ranges shrink? Therapeutic, that is a completely, and I'm in doctor mode, that's a completely inappropriate use of that term because we're not talking about fentanyl within a therapeutic context, aren't we? But imagine how much that safety window is reduced when you throw alcohol into the mix as well.
Yes. So what would fentanyl be used as a medical intervention for what? For pain if I'd had an operation?
Yeah, so I mean, it depends. So let's say you've got someone in, I don't know, I mean, this is probably a bad example, but the concepts of what I'm about to say are sound. It is a stronger painkiller. So if you've got something hurting, you take paracetamol. If that doesn't work, you add ibuprofen. If that's still not working, you go to a weak opioid at that point, which is codeine.
Yes.
Then you add tramadol, which is an intermediate opioid. The next step up from that would be morphine. If morphine's not working, at that point, I might consider prescribing someone fentanyl.
Wow.
That's the steps that you've got to go through to get to it.